French Foreign Legion, I tell you what, these guys are some hard dudes. Take a look below for the other 3 episodes. This will be the 4th one. We're still in the jungle training with them, so let's get going.
Transferred to Kuru for treatment and recovery. Nights are very long out here. 12 hours, in fact.
You can imagine just hearing the cicadas in the background. The amount of bugs. I don't care if you had a bug tent, you had more bug juice on, you're going to have those things eating you alive. You just have to get used to right off the bat. That's the tough part about that kind of jungle training. I've done some of it in the past. It is, those bugs will get you. Makes parasite look like a vacation.
It's a chance to assess their mental condition. And they dream in their own languages.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to have a sleeping problem or a snorer out there. Give your position away in no time. Interesting, too, since all these guys are from different countries for the most part, right? You speak French, but in his case, he's from Spain. Think about it. You dream in Spanish, but you speak in French, and he also speaks some English. Tell you what, that must be interesting.
22 years in the Legion? Sometimes. But I've become institutionalized, so not too often. What has the Legion meant to you? So much.
You know, he made a good point. Almost reminds me of Shawshank Redemption. He said, you know, he's institutionalized now. 20 years in the Legion, 20 years in the Marine Corps. That's the only way you think is about how that mindset is. A question for you guys, especially you retired guys. Were you institutionalized? And how long did it take you to get to become a normal civilian? At least normal in your mind. Even if you aren't retired. So that's the question. How long did it take you to acclimate from being in the military to getting out? I can tell you for me, it's about 5 years, and I didn't retire, so put that question in the comments below. I'd be curious to hear about that one.
The Legion wasn't better off with me, and so that when I leave, the Legion won't be any worse off without me.
You got to appreciate these guys right here. I mean, this guy, no complaints, no excuses, just glad to be in the Legion, right? It's nice and refreshing, Get a lot of people who just want to put their 20 years, get their 20 in. And this is not a job. You're putting your 20 in and coasting. 22 years in, he's still humping with the brand new guys, with the young guys, right? Tell you what, that's tough.
10 days into their jungle training, and the 3rd day without food. The men are starting to weaken. Warrant Officer Lopez decides that now's the time to move camp. All right, gather up the equipment, we're moving. It was a move that wasn't on the program. And Gamba doesn't know how to swim.
Well, that's a surprise right there. I mean, you send the guy off into the jungle, he doesn't know how to swim. That's a big difference. I know in every armed forces I'm aware of, at least in the U.S., swimming, they're going to teach you, at least be competent enough so you don't drown. So this is going to be, I can't only imagine this guy not knowing how to swim, get on a raft in this river. What do you guys think? Wow.
Going to go in the water even if you don't know how to swim? Well, if we have to, we have to. Whether you can swim or not. Where are you going? Warrant Officer Lopez decides to test Gamba one last time. What happens if you can't make it?
So it looks like he can swim some, right? He may not be terribly proficient, but he's not sinking. That's a good start.
Well, he won't get his grade. He'll be considered unfit for jungle warfare. To get his promotion, Gamba will need to swim at least 50 meters, which is the width of the river.
Looks like he's doing it.
Gambo makes one final effort, but by halfway across, he's in serious trouble.
You know, I had a lot of guys ask me in the Marine Corps video, and check below for this one, the boot camp video, hey, what if I can't swim? What do I do? Well, at least in the Marine Corps, they'll teach you how to be a competent swimmer. You know, they'll have a pool week. I think it's a week. You know, there's a group of people who don't know how to swim. But I would advise any of you guys, and you guys that are in, comment below. I would advise any of you guys, if you don't know how to swim, you know, go to the YMCA and get some lessons before you go in, right? Because I would not want to go Marine Corps boot camp, even though they teach how to swim. Realize this guy, right? He's going to learn how to swim the hard way. So do yourself a favor and don't do that.
I want it, so I'll get it. Are you going to carry on anyway? I will. I'm going to finish this. Gambo will need to learn to swim and then take the training course a second time.
Wow.
To succeed, he'll need to undergo every step of the training all over again.
You know, these guys definitely don't seem like they're letting the training wheels, keeping the training wheels on for these trainees, right? You go to a jungle training, not know how to swim. They know that, but they're just like, they want to figure it out, right? So they're definitely not holding their hands, you know. He's got to start over again, go through this, and know how to swim. Tell you what, that's tough. You think they'd at least prep him in advance. Because not how to swim in this deal, you're done.
Your mother's tears. To finish, the instructor is organizing the carrying of a makeshift stretcher, a 2-hour march through dense jungle terrain.
Yeah, they don't look like they've got, you know, they're going out there with a minimal amount of gear, right? And the stretcher, I don't know that even one of these guys is a corpsman. So say most of your infantry platoons, you're going to have a corpsman somewhere, or even in a squad, hopefully you got a corpsman, right? So not they're going to tote the guy, but at least you've got some medical, you know, gear on hand. It looks just like everyone there has got to be your basic corpsman, tote this guy out, no equipment. They're not calling a medevac helicopter. Now, obviously it's training, but they're going to get out the hard way. I can respect that about this training. It looks like it's legit. Let's keep going.
The Legion didn't call up and say, hey, we need you. Come on over. You're the one that joined up for 5 years, so you just...
Yeah, that's a very good point. You know, you get guys in that are complainers. They're into, you pick it, infantry or artillery. You get those big complainer guys that are sitting there. You act like they're, you know, drafted. I can see if you're drafted complaining about it, right? Right. You don't want to be there. But you signed up for it, especially in today's world. You know what you're getting into. At least you get the concept. You can talk to people like you guys out there haven't been in. Put your comments below. Talk to some of the guys on this channel. There's plenty of other people that have got their opinion besides me. There should be no reason you get there and complain. You may decide, I don't want to do another hitch. I want to get out. But the complaining does nobody any good. And you're going to put your time in, get out, and it'll be a good memory. So this guy's on point, you know. He chose to go in. It's part of it, right?
My comrades deserve better than this. You don't want my water? Well, your comrades are going to suffer.
I think that's the same guy that's in the other video. I think video 3, so look below on that one. He just picks on him. You know, young guy. Seemed like he's a little weak. Just keep picking on him, you know, offering him water. He didn't have it with him. You know, the guy in charge of training is like, hey, you want some water? And it looks like Porter's trying to be tough now. So yeah, that's part of it. You're going to have guys in training outside of boot camp that are just, you see the potential, and these instructors or cadre are really trying to gear them up and get them ready, because sometimes you got to push them in odd ways to get them, you know, in that mental part going, right?
Come on. Take it.
Encore un test?
Is that another test?
Ouais, le tester s'il est apte après.
I want to make sure he's suitable.
Non, il s'améliore.
Well, he's better. His willpower is good.
S'il n'y a pas d'entraînement dur.
Training.
Now you figure these guys, right, have had 4 days, no food. and putting out every day. So not just 4 days fasting, doing yoga classes. They're putting out hot, sweaty, tired, high metabolisms. They're spent. And now they're toting somebody out of the jungle and running in formation. I can tell you what, they are tired. And it looks hot as could be.
To be tough. Otherwise, how will we know how they react in tough circumstances? I know one or two that might drop out, but this is the only way. The training has to be hard. Very hard.
You always hear that expression, cliche, the more you bleed in peacetime, the less you bleed more, training, whatever it is. But the point is, you want the training to be hard. You want to do a lot of it. So you do get deployed, or you do get into a position where you're doing your job, right? And these guys are doing their job for France. It's not as big of a deal, right? So you've done it. It's almost like the muscle memory in one of the other videos, Army Boot Camp video. Check below in that one. They talk about muscle memory. They're doing the CQB stuff, the close quarters stuff. It's like a sports team. You practice the play over and over, you get used to it. You practice suffering enough, you get used to it. And that's what he's saying. This guy's hard as they come. As we'd say in the Marines, salty as can be. These are the kind of guys you want to have around you to learn from.
A sheep is never going to eat meat, right? And here we want hunters. We train them to be predators, to eat meat, if you will. But without hate. A predator doesn't hate his prey.
Right there, that's a big point in this whole video series. We train them to be hunters, predators, without hate. Do a job, right? Be surgical. No emotion. You have a job to do, a mission set, you do the job. Mission men, right? So what he's talking about, it's the same stuff that infantry, maybe not at the individual level, but as you move up, it's mission men, right? You got to get it squared away. That's what he's talking about.
Aggressive, yes. Control and discipline, yes. But no hate. Okay, man, this is the final physical trial. For 2 weeks, the Legionnaires of the 2nd Platoon have coped with all the challenges that have been thrown at them during the training course. Lieutenant Agboton, the platoon commander, has come to know the men who will be under his orders for the next 2 years.
Like I talked about in the other one, I think this is critical. And I want you guys to put it below here. Do you think the enlisted and the officer ranks should train even in basic infantry together? I think it's key. Now, this isn't the basic stuff. Obviously, this is more, this is pretty advanced special operations stuff. Or stuff that, Marines get to and they train the Thai Marines, things like that. But, I do think side-by-side training, humping the gear, getting in there, doing the job, and not, sitting back commanding from afar, but getting into the suck, right? And that's what I appreciate about this training, is that this lieutenant's right with his troops, who he's going to be with for the next 2 years. That's a critical element, right? They're going to be working together. That makes great cohesion versus him getting shipped to another set of guys elsewhere, this lieutenant.
With further training to become a jungle warfare instructor himself. The 6-year Legion veteran achieved what he had come to Guyana to find. Adventure and inner strength.
Hey!
That is some good-looking O course, right? That's just like they found the jungle, didn't dig anything out, and just put the O course in the middle of it, or more of a, O course, tactics course, and day 4 or 5, wherever they're at, of not eating, right? And moving all the time. So, the Marines talk about in boot camp this crucible, right? It's 2 days not eating, whatever. These guys are 4 days in, no food, humping it. Their world's not nerfed. In other words, they can hurt themselves, and it doesn't seem like there's any medical staff hanging around. So, these guys are hanging out there and training. And this, they're not seeing people go harder in these videos, but this is pretty impressive stuff here. Hey, if you guys like what you're watching, do me a favor. Please subscribe, hit the bell notification so you get notice of new videos, and share the video. It does help the channel.
After more than 2.5 decades of war, an uneasy peace has finally been.
Hey, question for you guys. You ever shot one of those bullpups? I think the Israelis use them. Obviously, the French do. Not sure who else does, but you know, the manual of arms is so much different than, say, the M4 platform, M16 platform. So put that below in the questions or the comments. Have you shot the bullpup, and what do you think of it compared to, you know, the M4 platform?
A multinational force, the ISAF, the International Security Afghanistan Force, helps maintain law and order under NATO command. Amongst them, 500 soldiers from the French Foreign Legion. On this particular day, ISAF troops have come under fire while guarding the airport. The 2nd Legion's Infantry Regiment deploys.
So we just left the jungle, and now this documentary is transitioning into Afghanistan, right? These guys cover a lot of ground, you know, like our troops do as well, but pretty impressive set of guys. Now, think about NATO as a big operation. The U.S. is providing the most forces in NATO. If you've ever been around a NATO exercise or been deployed with NATO, it's mostly U.S. forces. And these guys are 500, right? 500 of the total. I don't know how many. Let's just call even 40,000, probably more than that. They're 500. But they're not providing logistics, support. They're just providing guys on the ground, which is powerful. You know, they may be a bigger portion of the total combative, you know, combat type troops on the ground. I don't know. Hey, if you guys know, put that in the comments section. I'm curious.
Lieutenant Pascal is in charge of the 2nd suspect elements. Only fire in legitimate self-defense.
You know, right off the bat, there's a problem, right? What's the problem? Put it in the comments below. You know what the problem is? Only fire in self-defense, right? So, you know there's a bad guy. You got to wait till you're getting fired upon. Kind of really vague, you know, rules of engagement there. So it creates a problem for these guys. Again, only fire in self-defense. You know, what is self-defense? You wait, you have to get shot at first. Generally, that's what that means. So, bad problem to have when you're trying to create, as they talked about earlier, remember, create a predator, controlled predator, and all of a sudden, you're just being the National Guard, you know, which is stuff. These guys don't seem like they're equipped to be MPs, right? Seem like they're equipped to be, you know, direct action stuff. So that must be tough on them.
The chase takes the Legionnaires to the village of Tarakel, 2 kilometers from the airport and a former Taliban stronghold.
Hey, question for you guys, and put it in the comments below. How many of you guys have served with Legionnaires during, you know, the Afghanistan, Iraq, all this conflict going on the last 20 years? How many of you guys have served with any foreign, French Foreign Legion guys? Put that in the comments. I'm curious. What'd you think of them, right? Ultimately, what'd you think? Looks to me like they're tough dudes. Now, people who serve with them, like you guys, I want to hear your comments.
He was looking out a little while ago, but now we've can't quite see him. If he opens fire, fire back immediately. I have to wait for an interpreter so I can liaise with the local police and go inside the compound. Afghan police enter the village, and the Legion.
You know, see, the amount of interpreters, again, so you got an interpreter that knows Afghan, Peshwan, or whatever it may be, and knows French, and maybe knows English, and maybe knows, you know, so it's pretty complicated, you know, amount of interpreters. And then, think about this, and then you got to trust these interps, right? They're not working both sides of this coin. So that creates a lot of problems. You get into these areas. I don't know that the French, you know, have like logistics court, you know, institutes like we've got. But even then, how many people, the Marines, do you have that do English and Afghan? You know, it's tough. It's really a tough challenge we've got that to deal with, the interp.
Players have to maintain their positions. They're not allowed to use their weapons. The ISAF mission ground rules mean...
You know, there we go again. Only fired when fired upon, right? So you know there's a bad guy right there. Bad guy. You see him with RPG. He's not firing at you. Walking down the road and see you. You're set up in an Overwatch position. You can't take care of the bad guy because he's not firing on you. See the problem there? That's not good. That's bad leadership. Bad NATO leadership. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole of politics, but you know, it's not doing the job these guys were trained for. You've seen the other 3 videos. They're not trained to be, policemen. They're trained to be warriors and the aggressors. But it's a real problem, I'm sure, for them. Let's listen in.
The Legionnaires can finally enter the house, but cameras are not allowed. Inside, the suspect has inevitably disappeared. But in the courtyard, a well has attracted Captain Belaboff's attention.
Not to get too far down the rabbit hole of what's right and wrong in this situation, but they got to wait for the chief of police. No, the bad guy's in there, right? I got to wait for the chief of police. Who knows what side this guy's on? To get you in to the house to get the bad guy who's now gone. You know, this kind of common sense, we say it that way. You talk to your neighbor who's a postman who's not even in the military and go, that's dumb. It is dumb, but let's keep going.
Quelle profondeur? 15 mètres?
How deep would you say that is? 15 meters? The captain is intrigued by the fact the well is dry in the middle of the rainy season. Interior search finished, sir? Probably escaped down the well, which in turn leads to a series of underground passageways.
Sur une galerie souterraine. Voilà, je n'en sais pas plus, si ce n'est que maintenant, c'est la partie de relation avec les autres.
Well, now we've got to make...
What would you do common sense? You're playing a video game. You're playing a board game. There's a well with a passageway somewhere else. Take a couple frags and you take care of it, right? You make the thing go away. Guess what they won't do? They won't be able to do that because of 1,001 reasons of politics, I'm sure. But you train these guys, like we saw earlier in the video, to be pit bulls. Now you want to take their teeth out. Probably not terribly they're not happy about it. Probably not as effective as they could be.
Donc ils sont à la fois voilà, bref.
The captain ends the conversation there. He is duty bound to say no more. And he never did get the opportunity to search the well properly.
Yeah, he's duty bound. If he wants to stay a captain in the French Foreign Legion, or stay in it, he's duty bound to keep his mouth shut, right? Again, the military doesn't institute policy, and commenting on it's kind of fruitless. It's easy for me to do because I'm not in it. But the right answer is not just to let it ride, not take care of the well. The right answer is to blow the well and solve the problem. But again, now he's sitting there in the middle of politics. Big problem.
In Captain Pelaboff's unit, most of the soldiers are from outside France. Corporal Lesko, 29, is from Slovakia. It's like being back in barracks here. It's what we're used to.
Like I talked about in the other videos, again, if you haven't seen them, look below in the description. These guys are basically modern day, guns for hire mercenaries, right? From Slovakia. He doesn't know which way France was, except for the fact he wanted to join the Legion. Got himself there. Interesting concept that we don't have in the States, but question for you, should we do it that way? Should we say, whoever wants to come and fight for the U.S., you put your time in, we screen you, you put your time in, and you become a citizen after that. Get the people who want to fight, right? Not people who are going in because they have to, need a job kind of thing. Put that below in the comments. I'm very curious your opinion.
The sergeants order the corporals, like me, and the corporals order the privates. That's the way it is. One big happy family. And in the 4th Company's family...
chain of command is one of those things that a lot of people outside the military really don't get it, right? They can go tell their boss to F off, and you got to write them up 3 times to get rid of them. Fortunately in the military, the chain of command, you could be a 21-year-old corporal and be in charge of 4 or 5 guys below you. It could be older, could be younger. But very quickly in the military, you develop a lot of leadership, required leadership, and responsibility. So chain of command is an important element. And, you see these guys, not far apart in age, but, they still recognize I'm a corporal, you're a lance corporal, I'm telling you what to do. And that's just the way it works. It's an effective system. That's why we do it.
See, in my country, this isn't allowed in the army. That's why I'm here. His whole torso has tattoos. Go on, show him, Fernandez.
That's an interesting reason to join the military, so you could get tattoos, right? That guy right there, okay? In our current military, I don't think they let him in. They've changed the rules so much where you can't have tats showing if you're wearing a uniform, or it's got to be at the cover of your hand. It's changed a lot since I was in. There was never any idiots who'd have a neck tat when I was in. But you'd see lots of guys, especially guys that were in a long time and were on ship a lot, they'd have tattoos like this all over. Now you can still have them over your back, but like this, have a sleeve or something. That was a relatively common thing. I think the idiots with the neck tattoos and the hand tattoos kind of ruined it for the rest of them.
So you abandoned everything? Well, I had a CD player and a bag with an old uniform in. That's it.
We never really appreciate what we've got in this country, right? So this guy goes from Argentina, sells all of his stuff, goes to France, right? Has to get a visa, right? Get to France. Gets there, no guarantees. He gets out, he's got to figure out how he gets himself back to Argentina. So he wants to be there. It's pretty impressive, where it's different in the U.S. It's pretty admirable. These guys really want to do it. The reason he wants to, the tattoos, maybe not as much. But, again, he wants to be there, definitely.
The equivalent of about $3,000 a month. This morning, though, they will be entitled to just $350 pocket money, distributed by the captain himself. Permission to enter, sir?
It's funny, so they got their utilities on. I don't think of any service in the U.S. military. They have utilities on, and they put like a dress cover on, the kepi, right? And all of our militaries have something similar. The Marines have, the white cover they wear. Everyone's army, everybody's got the cover they wear. But it's funny how they have their utilities on in Afghanistan, but they toted that kepi with them. Just it's pride. Find that to be pretty funny.
Every move is part of the ceremony. At your convenience, Captain. The Legionnaires come from all over the world. They're mixed up with all sorts of other nationalities. So the ritual is a form of common language, something they...
That's the funny part about the military. There's all these rituals. It's like, hoorah, in the Marine Corps, and you'll have, another one in the Army. And then the Navy will have a different little expression. All kind of the same thing for different reasons, So the little rituals about the military that gets passed down is so interesting. And it passes down from the time, when I was in, to the current guys, which came when I was in, I had Vietnam guys I worked with, it got passed down. Things unfortunately get lost with political correctness. But, again, the ritual part of it's what makes the military fun to talk about. If you guys haven't been in, it's like a fraternity for grown men, is what I'll call it.
Wherever he is posted, he takes with him portraits of his commanding officers and of General Rollet, the founding father of the Legion's spirit. The esprit de corps of the Legion is pride in a job well done, and completing it.
That's when they said the esprit de corps in the first one of these in part 1, it really struck me, because that was something I learned when I was in the Marine Corps, and I heard the esprit de corps. I'm like, what in the hell are they talking about, right? So esprit de corps is a real thing, and it's just the love for the Corps, the fervor for the Corps, just the commitment to the rituals, the excellence, the carrying on through the tradition kind of thing. That's how I think of it. And it seems like these guys got the same thing. It's my affinity for these guys, because they have that, traditions matter, history matters. Marines will know more about Marine Corps history than they'll know about any other type of history. You have the dumbest guy in the Marine Corps. He'll know more about Marine Corps history than he does American history. Hey, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more videos.